After the World Cup ended, I said that if I were Tim Ream, I would retire, go out on a high, and leave the national team behind him and continue to focus on his club career. But now looking at the US national team, I'm beginning to wonder should we keep Tim Ream in the squad? He's 35, he's going to be 36 when the Copa America happens, if we're still invited to that, 38 by the next World Cup. So you have to wonder, will he still be good? But at the moment, he's enjoying the best season of his career, and he is still one of our top center backs. I still believe that Chris Richards is more talented, and I really like Cameron Carter Vickers. But aside from that, I think he's probably our third best, and you could argue higher because Chris Richards isn't playing at all in the Premier League, while Tim Ream's a captain and a starter. And look at the rest of the veteran center backs in our group. We have Walker Zimmerman, who I think showed at the World Cup he's not really up to the level that we need our players to be. John Brooks, maybe he's more talented than Ream, but he's not playing at all. And granted, Zimmerman and Long weren't playing before the World Cup, but they were still called in. But that just is what it is. And then Aaron Long is, well, he's Aaron Long. We still have our younger group of center backs, and it's understandable to want them in the team over somebody who's going to be 38 by the time the next World Cup starts. But when we look at them, are we sure that we really want them in the team over a Tim Ream? I mean, we have Chris Richards, extremely talented. I want him in the squad, but he's just not playing at all. Cameron Carter Vickers, who is killing it, but playing at a relatively low level. Mark McKenzie, he's finally started to break out with Genk, and I want him back to the team, but he's never really looked comfortable in a good amount of chances with the national team. Eric Palmer Brown has started to get some consistent playing. Well, he's been getting consistent playing time, but he's still not doing great in France, but he is playing a lot. Austin Trusty has looked really good in the championship and is a left-footed center back. And we shouldn't forget about Miles Robinson, who is still a very good player for us. And that's not to mention players on the U20 team and players who we would see on that January roster, which is still not out, by the way. But then we have to look at, should Ream be in the team? Ream is different from most of our veterans in that he's actually pretty talented technically, though in this group, he's probably only good to average on the ball when compared to his competition, and his athleticism is already a huge concern, especially when compared to the rest of the group, which is largely an athletic group of players, assuming Miles Robinson is 100% following his injury. His knowledge of the game and experience certainly helps him out, but he's only played at the Premier League for a couple of years. He's mostly been a championship tweener, and if, let's say there's a possibility that Chris Richards starts to play, Cameron Carter Vickers gets a big move, Austin Trusty gets promoted, then all of a sudden we have got three Premier League center backs, and that experience doesn't mean as much. And on top of that, we have to consider that Ream might just fall off in, the pretty near future, and it's not like Fulham haven't tried to replace him before. But all that stuff I say, that comes with, a chance. That's like a what if. Right now, what we know is that Tim Ream is playing at a top level, he's doing well, and there's no signs of that changing. And Chris Richards is a fourth choice center back. Mark McKenzie has been very inconsistent. Eric Palmer Brown is starting, but Troyes has been leaking a lot of goals. Austin Trusty has a very limited sample size at a high level of competition. And Cameron Carter Vickers, I want him in the team no matter what, but he is still only playing at Celtic. And then we have got a Miles Robinson who I think the cracks were starting to show in his play before he got injured. His on-ball ability really wasn't that good. I think his athleticism really carried him, unlike a player like Richards, who's a lot more of a complete center back. But, we still have to see how he ends up coming back from his injury. And I think there's enough doubt in the ability of our younger guys to break through that we should keep Tim Ream around the team, especially considering how soon the Copa America will come and how important having a good center back will be for that. So right now, when I'm looking ahead to March, I think I'd keep Tim Ream in the squad. I think that he's shown enough in the Premier League and he was good enough at the World Cup. I think I argued that he was probably my U.S. Player of the Year over the past, full year. Tyler Adams had a really good second half of the season, but his stuff at RB Leipzig was pretty bad. So I'd bring Tim Ream to the squad. I'd also bring Chris Richards. Even if he is a fourth choice, he's just too talented to leave off, alongside Cameron Carter Vickers, and I'd recall Mark McKenzie. I really like Mark McKenzie. Might just be my Philadelphia Union bias, but I'd keep him in the team. So I'd keep out Walker Zimmerman. I don't think he's good enough, and I think Miles should have to actually prove himself on the field to get back into the team, because we saw that just didn't work out with Aaron Long. So yeah, in my opinion, I would keep Tim Ream in the squad. I'd like to just go over like a couple of the players on our national team to like talk about them, and because I think Tim Ream has proven to be a very well-rounded center back, reads the game extremely well, good on the ball, can help on in the build-up, and I think he is still valuable to this team, even though we do want to get younger. But hey, we had a lot of very experienced center backs at this last World Cup, and players keep extending their longevity, and just how much medical stuff has evolved, stuff that I don't understand. So I think there's a good chance that Tim Ream might honestly still be available, still be an option for us come 2026, even if it is more just as a veteran, which I thought he would be at this World Cup. But yeah, that's all I've talked about. Good to see Tim Ream still looking good. And yeah, see you.